Today I'm going to talk about how you can use house hacking to scale up a real estate portfolio. Now, house hacking is an awesome strategy, and a lot of times it gets looked at as just a strategy to use to get started invested in real estate. And I think that's a mistake. I think that absolutely it's a great way to get started investing in real estate, especially when you don't have a ton of cash. But I believe it's a great way to continue to scale up a portfolio because I've done it myself. So exactly how I've used house hacking to help grow a portfolio really quickly is, of course, I got started with house hacking. I barely had enough money to get into my first house hack, much less buy a rental property. So right off the bat, I would have never had any rental properties had I not house hacked, or it would have taken me years to buy my first rental property, where bought one, bought the other within 6 months because I lived in the house hack and saved so much money. And then 2 years later, I sold that house hack and bought two more. So house hacking can be used to scale up a rental portfolio through a few easy ways. The first is you save so much money when you're house hacking that you can stow that away, you can squirrel it away for down payments for other rental properties. Of course, got more money, you're not paying tax, you've already paid taxes on this money, putting it away and you're putting it to work. So it's a great way. The savings are a great way to help scale up real estate. Number two, you are building equity in these house hacks. So if you do house hacking once, that's great. Over a few years, you might build a couple $100,000 in equity, well, maybe more than a few years. But over time, you're going to build equity in that house hack. Let's say my first house hack, for example, I bought it for $182,000. I sold it for $330,000. Now, if I had only done that one time, I would have only had those gains from that one house hack. But you can do house hacking as many times as you want. So what I did is I went and I did it again. So I sold the first one, used that to buy two rental properties. Then I went and I did it again. And I had all those rental properties I'd bought before. On my second house hack, I lived in it for a year, moved out a couple years later, sold it too, all the while continuing to house hack. So I sold it too, but I actually bought 7 properties with a partner that I have now. And we've just scaled that portfolio like crazy. So the equity in these house hacks is huge because it's allowed me to continue to scale and continue to scale. But it's saving so much money through house hacking has allowed me to scale my rental portfolio because it's savings that, again, I would not have had. Let's say you make $100,000 a year and you have a mortgage of $3,000 a month. $36,000 of that, no, sorry, $42,000 of that automatically goes, 36,000, sorry, I was right the first time. 36,000 goes away right off the bat. And yeah, you're paying some of that down in principal, but that's more than a third, or around a third of your income goes to your living expenses right away. Maybe you don't have a car payment, you have all this other stuff. If you're lucky, you're probably saving somewhere in the 10 to 30% range, and that's pretty aggressive for most people. With a house hack, it's super easy to save over 50. I've heard of people saving 70, 80, 90% of their earnings because they don't have to pay living expenses. And as a practice of house hacking, it allows you to get better with your budget. And when you're getting aggressive to buy more rental properties, you also get better at growing your income. So you get better at managing your budget, you get better at growing your income, all by living in house hacks. Then you move on, you've got the house hacks, you're building equity. For low down payments, the leverage is huge. You can roll those into other properties, either 1031 or just sell and buy more. But the third thing that it does, how house hacking really helps you scale, is it shows people that you're a real estate investor, you know what you're doing, and that you might be a good partner or you might be a good person to loan private money to. So again, I mention all of this because this is all stuff that's worked for me, and this is exactly how I've grown a rental portfolio. I don't mean to say that I would have never owned any rental properties had I just gone and bought a condo or bought a single family up front, but I'd own far fewer rental properties, and I would have acquired them in a much longer period of time. So maybe I would have acquired one a year. I've acquired over 40 in about 6 years, 7 years. So house hacking can really just supercharge scaling a real estate portfolio And it's not just for getting into real estate investing. It's not just for the person that's new or in their 20s and wants to save a little bit of money. It's an extremely powerful strategy that you can take a little bit of money and grow it like crazy. So that $6,000 I had up front, I invested another $15,000 into that property, turned into almost $150,000. But I did that a few times on a few different properties, and I've sold 2 of them. I've kept 2 of them, and the 2 that I still have pay all of our mortgage expenses, so I can continue to save as much money as possible and pour that into other real estate investments. So house hacking is not just for getting started, it's a great way to scale a real estate portfolio.